Recently, I have begun claiming for myself the word fat. Not recently because I have something that has changed. I have always been this way. From the time I hit puberty quite young, I steadily gained weight, my body shape changed, and in spite of my athleticism and vegetarianism as a high schooler, I was never not fat. Even when I lost weight after being diagnosed with a condition called polycystic ovarian syndrome, I was still, by New York City in the 1990s standards, fat. I remember as a child and youth trips with my mother to shop at Bloomingdale's, Macy's. I had to shop in the women's section, as it was called then, which at the time meant going down into the windowless basement, as if large women were a shameful secret to be hidden from the rest of the world. To this day, I hate department stores. I find them stifling, overwhelming, and even in non-pandemic times, I avoid them at all costs. There are so many stories I could tell you about living in a fat body in this world, about what happens when someone with a fat body loses weight, and how at every size, society, media, medical professionals, and even our closest loved ones, consciously and unconsciously, conspire to remind us that our fat bodies are less than welcome. Those sizes are only sold online. We don't have them here. If you just lose weight, this medical concern will go away. You look so beautiful now that you've lost weight. When you have a boyfriend, you'll want to be thin for him. The reality is, of course, that it is not only fat bodies that are judged in this world. I am able to speak from the perspective of a woman with such a body, but it is also our height, our prettiness or handsomeness, our muscles or lack thereof, our gender expression, the color of our hair or the size of our hands, whether our bodies are formed in stereotypical ways or whether we have noticeable differences in our limbs or sexual organs or abilities. And you probably won't be surprised to hear me say that I absolutely believe that the narrow vision of what is physically acceptable, including our collective obsession with thinness, is all a part of that messy and awful patriarchal white supremacist bullshit that we all live with every day. Narrow definitions of beauty have roots in racism and misogyny, and they are demeaningly reductionist. These narrow visions of acceptable bodies deny our wholeness as people, asking us to separate our bodies from our minds and hearts. I imagine that each and every one of you has known the feeling of being told implicitly or explicitly that you are not beautiful enough, not perfect enough, not right enough. I'm not sure how one could escape it in this world. It is shocking how much money we as a culture spend on diets, gyms, hair dye, all the myriad ways that we attempt to push ourselves into the mold of what we have been socialized to think will get us the right partner or the job or whatever. And the sad truth is that because we've all been socialized in these ways, some things actually do impede our getting the job or the partner or the whatever. I learned recently that there are UU congregations that have made clear in their search materials that they wouldn't hire a minister they perceive to be obese. Even we in our progressive and liberal faith have fat phobia, anti-fat bias. We've been taught for decades that when someone is fat, it's because they're lazy, slovenly, unmotivated, less intelligent, lacking in willpower and moral fiber, lacking in commitment. Our negative associations with fatness are manifold. So much so that I hesitated to share with you about my metabolic and endocrine condition, lest you think I was trying to assure you that I wasn't one of those lazy fat people, just someone with a chronic condition. And to be brutally honest, I agonized over this service and how much to share because I have watched as thin colleagues have spoken about fat phobia and been reassured afterwards that they're perfectly sized and beautiful. And I've watched as fat colleagues have preached about it and have been met with diet and exercise advice, as folks have completely missed the point. Preaching this is vulnerable in its self-disclosure and risky because of just how insidious our negative associations with fatness are. unless you can prove your worth in some other way. Claiming space physically, mentally, emotionally with a fat body is not generally considered acceptable in our thin-centric society. And I have no doubt that the shyness of my youth and young adulthood and many of the interpersonal skills that I developed were a direct result of my awareness that I had to make myself acceptable in other ways. Fat was, when I was young, a dirty word. Certainly nothing a person would claim for themselves if given a choice. So this brings me back to my journey with this term. It is factual that I am fat. I decided some time ago, and I think it was after my children were born, that if I was going to take the power, the sting, the violence out of that word for them, I needed to take it out for myself. Because fat is not a negative word, or at least it doesn't have to be. I knew that my children didn't have to grow up thinking that fat is shameful. And it was through listening and watching as other colleagues and friends claimed a space, claimed a right to embodied being, that I really began to believe it was possible to live in a fat body without constant shame about it. Because I grew up with all those associations, and it is challenging to grow up confident when you are acutely aware of all the ways your body, the only one you'll ever have, deviates from the norm. I knew I was smart and capable and nice and easy to get along with. I always knew my insides were awesome, but I would never have said that about my body. Not in my youth, even through college. This body, awesome? Nah. More a thing to be endured and put up with. I think truly it was only once I was in graduate school, among folks who were pursuing a clerical life, folks whose job it is to see whole people, not just minds and hearts, but the bodies that come with them. Only then did I start to understand that this body of mine is okay, whether I'm at my top weight as I am now or at a smaller size as I was 2 years ago. Only in my 30s can I say, and mostly believe, because that belief is challenged every day, mostly believe, only in the last decade have I been able to articulate that my size and my weight don't matter, that what matters is that I'm at home in my own body, even if it doesn't do all the things I think I wish it could. What matters is that I don't have to make an apology for existing and existing in this particular body, in this particular way, in this particular moment. And no matter what happens to this body over time, I don't need to apologize, and all of my flesh and my blood and my bones are part of my wholeness, a wholeness that I can learn to love. Each and every one of us knows that bodies change over and over again in a lifetime. Mine shifted at puberty as the PCOS kicked in. It shifted again when I had children. It will shift again in slow and methodical ways as I get older. It's already started doing that. It shifts when I lose weight because I want to sleep and feel stronger, and it shifts when I gain it back. None of our bodies escape time. None of our bodies escape change. They are ours to do with as we please. Maybe we want to dye our hair or go to the gym or change our eating habits to help our cholesterol levels. But these bodies aren't on loan. They are ours and they will change, and we can't stop that. And I have to wonder, what would it be like if we could love all our bodies and expand our vision of what is beautiful? I remember when I was first diagnosed with the polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I had such a feeling of relief knowing what it was I had, right? Why I was different in some ways. And it was helpful learning what it meant for my body and how it operates and what it needs. But I also remember feeling a sense of betrayal, a sort of how dare my body not be made right feeling. It's a difficult thing to live in a body, the one body we will ever have, and feel that it's betrayed you. And I suspect I'm not the only one to know this feeling. And also, no one should have to endure that feeling. I am not a Christian. You all know that, not in the Jesus saved humanity kind of way anyway. I think of myself more as a heretical friend of Jesus, so to speak. For me, the lesson in the story of Jesus is about human holiness. The incarnation was about the divine becoming enfleshed. taking on a body with all its aches and pains and trials and failings. There's a deep theology of embodiment in Christianity. Humans as made in the image of God, incarnation of the divine in human form, bodily resurrection. And if, like me, you take from the Jesus stories the idea that Jesus was not the only one, that indeed we are all incarnations of the holy, by definition divine, then these bodies of ours are holy too, whatever they look like and however they are made. And then my fatness and PCOS are not a betrayal. My body is not something separate from my heart and soul, something that isn't in concert with them. Instead, my body and whatever chronic condition I have are simply a part of the holiness that is me, not to be denied or shamed or hidden in a windowless basement, but integrated into my wholeness. Your body is not an apology, and your body is not a betrayal. Your body is your body, divine, holy, creative, and full of life. I heard on the radio actually just this week that the singer-songwriter and amazing flutist Lizzo, who you maybe have heard of, talks to her belly. Lizzo is famous for being unapologetically herself and loving her big, beautiful body. And the radio station actually played a clip of her just loving on her belly, telling her belly in the mirror that she loves it and is so grateful for the ways it sustains her life. And I remember sitting in my car listening to this and feeling a little uncomfortable because all that fat phobia and insecurity still lives in me a lot of the time. And I remember feeling in awe of the powerful way that Lizzo is herself. Our first video asked us to consider what it would be like to be our own Valentine, to love ourselves. This call to love ourselves can feel trite or like an impossible task. But I suppose it's like anything else, it takes some practice. It takes looking in the mirror and seeing not a fleshy vessel that our minds and hearts and souls embody for a time, but rather an integrated image of the holy that exists in absolute union with our minds and hearts and souls, and that together make something beautiful, not pretty or handsome, but beautiful. My colleague, Jessica Clay, lifted up that difference for me in meaningful ways. Pretty is something aesthetic, surface, something that's defined by society, it changes over time, it inevitably passes for all of us. Beauty is something entirely other. When I tell you on Sunday mornings that you are loved and you are holy and you are beautiful, I'm not telling you you're pretty. I'm telling that you, all of you, including your body, I'm telling you that you are stardust, are God, are magic and wonder and potential and everything good. Beautiful doesn't fade. Beautiful is inherent to your being. Every age, every size. Beautiful is your birthright. You are beautiful. I am beautiful. That's the truth of our theology centered on love and unity. That's the truth that it teaches us. We are beautiful. And sometimes we all need to practice remembering, practice self-love by bringing ourselves a vase of water lilies, practice love for our embodied selves by standing in front of the mirror and praising our beautiful bellies. This morning, we're going to practice together. I'm going to invite you into a blessing written by my colleague, the Reverend Lisa Bovey-Kemper. You can mimic my motions if you want, using your own holy hands, which are filled with love and the power of being. Use your holy hands to bless your beautiful wholeness. Start. May you be blessed with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. May your intellect take you far on your journey. You've been blessed with reason and free will. It is your call every day to use these gifts. May you be blessed with voice. May you learn the complex nature of truth-telling. The ability to speak truth in love is something that requires honesty, empathy, and care. You are challenged every day to seek the joy that comes with sharing your truth compassionately, as well as listening to others. In your heart, May your heart be full and blessed with love. May you know the agony of heartbreak as it is intertwined with the elation of true love. Your heart is a strong and resilient organ, one that will be with you until the end of your time on earth. May you heed the wisdom of your heart and always trust the truth it tells. Your belly. You are blessed with the gift of sexuality. May you always remember that you are a beloved child of God. Your body is sacred and belongs to you alone. May you live into the full expression of your identity as a human being, embracing your true sexual and gender identity. The gift of sexuality brings with it many rewards as well as great responsibility. May you always retain power over your own being, striving toward mutually fulfilling and just relationship. When you were a baby, your tiny hands were your first contact with the world. Before you could see more than a few feet in front of you, you grasped the finger of your loved ones. You catch yourself with your hands when you fall, and you express love and comfort to others with them too. May your hands be gentle and strong. May you use them to carry light into the darkness and rest to the weary. May your hands always find the place of greatest need, beginning with your own. And may the creator of all things hold you in the palm of her hand wherever you go. Give yourself a hug. May you be blessed on your journey. May you remember that growth happens on the journey and that you are never alone. May you always remember that you are a whole person, that each of these parts work together. We offer our blessings upon you, body, mind, and spirit. May you be guided by compassion and truth, justice and love. May you find rest on the journey, always remembering where you came from, being mindful that your ancestors gather behind you, whether we are present on earth or have gone back to the soul of the world. May you be blessed in all things and carry blessings with you wherever you go. Friends, may we each come to know our whole selves as precious, beloved, and beautiful, safe in the knowledge that when we forget our own holiness, we can remind each other. So may it be.